but only a wrestler can strike.
And welcome to episode 2 of Tally Benchwarmers. This is your unofficial, definitely not expert take on the latest in local collegiate sports. This week, we're going to discuss the fact that seemingly neither Tallahassee football team showed up to play this past weekend. And of course, we're going to also talk about FSU's dominating women's soccer team.
Way too many mistakes that showed up tonight. Penalties that cost us, extended drives, big plays that were taken off the board because of poor technique that result in penalties.
For the next 30 minutes, maybe a little more, maybe a little less, the WFSU team is going to concentrate on FSU and FAMU athletics. And for the next couple of months, it's going to be mostly football, but later, of course, basketball. We're going to be talking about soccer today, softball, baseball, volleyball also. And all this is going to be the talk of the town, but we're going to be really concentrating on what I think we call is football here in the region. Hi, I'm David Mullins. I'm the head bench warmer, and let me introduce you to the other folks that are on the end of the bench. With me is Lynn Hatter, WFSU's news director, but also former, what was that? A drum major, right? Is that what it was? You weren't a drum major?
I played clarinet in the Marching 100.
Okay.
Yes. I was a band girl.
Well, you seem like a drum major type. That's what confused me.
Well, I do run things around here.
You do. And also with us on the bench is our resident, you're a sports expert when you want to be, I think.
I think so.
You're a long-distance runner wannabe.
Yep.
And even though you don't want to admit it, you were a swimming star in high school. No. Okay. Jennifer Tappan is our CFO here at WFSU, and every Monday morning, usually, we just kind of stand around the water cooler, stand around the office, and talk sports. So that's what we're doing today. We're talking sports as best as we can. What Lynn likes to call these are our terrible takes, though, right?
Our terrible takes. I just want to say, Is it too early to start FSU's eulogy?
Oh, my God.
I'm sorry. I'm getting in there early.
We're gonna also be, besides talking what could be just really some awful, horrible news about FSU in our opinions. We're going to make some picks later on, but we don't want to take any of that to Vegas, right?
Oh, please don't. Do not gamble on this. This is just in good fun.
It's good. So our first little piece here that we're going to talk about is, unfortunately, FSU football, right?
Yeah. It was rough. I feel bad for the people watching. Yeah. I feel bad for the people who sat through that. I feel bad for the city. I feel bad for everybody involved with the exception of the coaches.
You don't feel bad for the coaches. I feel pretty bad for Coach Norvell. He sounded, in that soundbite that we just heard at the top, he sounded pretty sad.
He should be. At this point, it's on him. At this point, he's the head coach. It's on him. He's a very good coach. I love him, but we're playing worse than we have. This was our worst game so far this season, coming off a win. And that has got to come from the top, whether it's staffing decisions, player decisions, changing the way they do things in practice, whatever it is, it's got to come from decision-making from the top.
I totally agree with that, because as I was jotting down on my notes, I'm like, is it the players? Is it the portal? Is it the coaching? Is it the culture? Because at the end of the day, we're talking about this game we call football, but that's a misnomer. This is not a game. This is a business. These are business decisions that are being made on the field. No, seriously, this is a business. We're no longer in the amateur hour. What they put on was disgraceful and embarrassing. I think that's the nicest way to say it. And when you're in the middle of trying to sue the ACC and you're talking smack about potential teams coming in, and this is the product that you put on the field, I mean, I think people have a right to be disgusted at this stage of the game.
How do you really feel, Lynn?
I mean, I don't know.
I am confused.
I'm speaking from the back of the bench. Don't mind me.
Do we have another sound clip from Norvell? Let's hear maybe a little bit more what Coach Norvell said after the game.
At the end of the day, that's extremely disappointing. It's embarrassing for how we were in the second half, and ultimately we got to make a choice as a football program of what we're willing to allow ourselves to look like in the course of a game.
I mean, you hear Norvell all the time talking about they look great in practice. We're looking good in practice.
Okay, the Jaguars look great in practice.
It's once you get to the game, they are not performing. They're not blocking. The offensive line, admittedly, was a weak point last year. They thought they had improved this year.
They showed glimpses last week.
Well, I think I've heard it talked about before. They show glimpses in spurts. They will have maybe 3 minutes of really good offensive play, or maybe even a full drive of 7 or 8 minutes, but they cannot sustain it. The consistent part of the team is their inconsistency. It seems like
what this reminds me of is the Willie Taggart years, and I know people don't want to talk about this, but there are some really disturbing parallels that I'm seeing that definitely remind me of what this team looked like when Willie Taggart was coaching it. The inconsistency, the seemingly give-upedness,
Well, I think with Taggart, a lot of the complaints and
no, but I'm just
was about just discipline, just overall discipline.
It doesn't look disciplined.
Well, they are playing some undisciplined ball for sure.
Exactly,
yeah.
And that's what I'm saying. I go back to the question: is it the players? Is it the coaches? Is it the culture? Is it the portal? I mean, personally, I think it's all above. I think that what I also see is a failure to adjust.
That's been a Norvell problem for years. He has a plan. He has a set plan, and then he just goes with it, totally failing, but he continues to go with it. I do want to point out one positive. Toafili. He made some mistakes. He definitely made some mistakes. However, he played his heart out. To the point where SMU's pick 6, he tackled the guy in the end zone because he didn't give up. Trying to get to it.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah,
and I think for him that showed a lot of heart, and I hope that he continues to have that heart because he can be one of the players that really steps up and takes control of this. The coaches obviously aren't going to step up and take control of this,
and somebody
they haven't yet. Well, somebody has to do it.
Somebody has to do it because there's no. There's no accountability.
And it's always kind of goes back to the quarterback position. We were spoiled with Travis for the prior 2 years, earlier than that. And you really think about how, it was the first year 2 of the Norvell years was a difficult one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That was the Jacksonville State loss, right?
Yes.
Yeah. This one against SMU felt even more.
It was just gross.
Yeah.
But at the same time, as much as you look at the quarterback position, you also have to know how to coach your quarterback.
Yeah, no, you got to coach to his strengths.
If you're not adjusting your coaching style to meet the needs of your players in order for them to be successful, then it's, again, coaching. You have to adjust your coaching style. You have to adjust your play plan. You have to adjust. If it's working in practice, but it's not working in the game, then it's not working in practice because you practice for the game. Mm-hmm. So there has to be some adjustment somewhere. He has to take this week and take a sit back. I mean, we're playing Clemson next week. Just forget about it. Yeah,
I think, is this what you call a tease, Jennifer?
No.
How you're teasing what your pick is going to be later in the game?
It's going to be unpretty.
Yeah.
I'm just don't worry about that game right now. Let's take a step back and let's figure out what we need to do to be a successful program. This year's kind of done. We're kind of done for the year. How are we going to move forward? How are we going to figure out how to be successful? What does the coaching staff from the very, very top have to do? Do we have to fire some people? Do we have to bring in new people? Do we need to bring in some mentors? Do we need to completely change our game plan? Do we need to completely change our first string? Do we need to sit some people out until they figure out that they want to be a part of this?
I really suspect, now maybe you can way off base, but I think we're going to see some new starters against Clemson. But unless the offensive line, whoever is there, blocks, whoever you put in at quarterback, whoever, however much Lawrence Toafili plays with his heart, he's not going to rush for many yards. They're going to get tackled behind the line of scrimmage. It all starts up front. That's really what the way all football is it starts up front, and our protection, and on the defensive side, you got to be able to tackle the guys that are coming through the line. A lot of miss
holes everywhere.
Yeah. I tell you what, Master, our punter is phenomenal.
He continues.
And we never gave Fitzgerald a chance to kick a field goal.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah.
Listen, if we get to fourth down and we're in the red zone and we're in field goal range and we don't kick a field goal one more time this season, I'm done. I am so tired.
But you know what? That safety was almost as good as of a field goal. But it was what a morale destroyer to be able to not be able to punch it in on two run plays. Again, they were stacked on the left-hand side of the line. You could tell that's where they were going, and they could not put it in the end zone on that fourth down play.
If your offense isn't consistent, take the points.
Exactly.
You have a kicker that is incredible. Fitzgerald is awesome. Use him. If we have to win games by scoring nothing but field goals, If that's what we got to do, then that's what we got to do. But the play calling has got to improve. It's just we're not good enough to go for it on fourth down right now in the red zone. We're just not.
One of the things that I've been thinking about in watching FSU week in and week out is this quarterback issue. Now, we know that, DJU is not Travis. Right. We know that.
No. Yeah, of course. We knew that coming in. And it's clear that he is not getting the support that he needs. Kind of obvious. But I sometimes think, and I have been thinking about this, you know how we say that there's no I in team, but yet we're putting 100% of our hopes and dreams on one person? Where is the rest of everybody else? An entire team cannot rise or fall with one person. No, of course not.
If you see an element not working, you have to be able to adjust for it. This goes back to, Jen, what you said earlier, this sort of failure to adapt and a failure to adjust. Know that other teams are watching your tape. They're seeing your holes. They're seeing your gaps. And when you keep doing the same things over and over and over again, and then you wonder why you keep losing, badder, and baddest, it's like...
Okay, so you know what? If there are any changes on the coaching staff, we have 3 applicants right here.
Put me in.
Put me in, okay.
Put me in.
Let's put up to FAMU real quick. FAMU, their game, unfortunately, was postponed due to the impending Hurricane Helene. So we don't... we were talking earlier that FAMU needs to be able to get in the end zone and not kick field goals. Well, at least they didn't get in the end zone again this past weekend either. So
well, they did, and they postponed their game for, I think everybody would agree, a very good reason. Because if you look, yes, Tallahassee is fine, but the rest of our communities are not.
That's right.
And so, I've been watching people who are critical of another game that did not get postponed. And I think FAMU made the right decision.
They absolutely did.
That said, they're playing Alabama State next weekend, I do believe.
Yes, they are.
And they cannot play Alabama State in the way that they just played Troy and in the way that they played Miami. They have got to finish the job. They have got to get into the end zone. The rest of their season from here on out is nothing but conference play. Yeah. And if they're going to repeat as Celebration Bowl champions, the Black College National Football Championship game, they have got to get it together and get in there. They are not going to repeat if they just keep kicking field goals. I mean, but it's serious because they were close on that Miami game, and they could have won Troy.
Miami is a top 10 ranked team. Troy's an FBS team, so. I mean, they're going to be playing in their conference moving.
They are,
so
but
we have to have expectations.
We do, but that Troy game was winnable.
Yeah, it was.
Troy was winnable.
Yeah.
And had they been able to convert on Miami, that game would have looked a lot closer than the final score. Yeah. So you've seen it now twice in 2 games. Yes, Miami is a different level of play. I understand that. But Troy was a lot closer in the competition. And so you're kind of seeing this, again, failure to get into the end zone thing now consistently across 2 games. And these are not easy teams. The rest of FAMU's schedule is not a cakewalk. They are, yes, it is competitive within the conference, but the SWAC is an incredibly strong conference with incredibly strong historical black college football teams in it. This ain't no cakewalk for them.
This time next week we'll be talking about how FAMU has adjusted to the SWAC.
Yes, so they have to adjust and get in there.
We're talking about Miami. Miami, Virginia Tech, an exciting end to the game. I mean, it was the Friday night game, so everybody was kind of focusing on it Saturday. Controversial ending, depending on who you really root for. I think is that whether that was a catch or not a catch. So,
I root for orange and green people.
I don't think it matters who you rooted for. It was called a touchdown on the field. In order for it to be overturned, there needed to be indisputable evidence that it was not. I did not see indisputable. Was it close? Yes. It could have been either way? Yes. I did not see indisputable evidence that it was not a catch. I think it should have stayed a touchdown. I am not a Miami fan, but it was an incredible game.
Yeah.
And
I think, that had to be in the refs' minds, too, is they did not want a top 10 ranked team to lose on a controversial call.
Well, it was a tug of war in there too. Like, who came out with the ball?
They did come out with an official statement, I think, just on Sunday, saying that the real reason was because the Miami player who was out of bounds touched the ball, which made the ball a dead ball. That was the official NCAA comment, I think, that came out on Sunday. So whatever it was an exciting game. Miami is still looking very, very good this season.
It looks good, but they did have a lot. Cam Ward, I have a little note that Cam Ward,
he's in the Heisman talk. He's in the Heisman talk.
He got tripped up in his cape a little bit.
Did he?
In his little Superman cape, throwing 2 interceptions.
Yeah. Okay. Well.
Almost losing.
Even Superman.
Yeah.
Real quick. Georgia, Alabama may have been the national championship game played early in the season.
Wow.
We can talk more about that later. But wow, what a game that is. Uh-oh, did you hear that?
Uh-oh, we just got called time.
We got called. It's time out for us to move on to our next piece of the Tally Benchwarmers. But for most podcasts, now would be a time when you'd hear messages from our sponsors. But wait, Lynn, we don't have sponsors, do we?
We do not have sponsors.
My Lord.
Alas, nobody loves us. We are lonely in the ether.
Shameless plug. So if you want to be a sponsor of this, I was going to say silly thing, but it's not a silly thing. It's a fun thing. If you want me, this is going to grow. This is going to be the sports podcast of the next 20 years, right here out of WFSU. So if you want to be a sponsor, just email us at tallybenchwarmers@wfsu.org. So now we're going to pivot to what everybody in Tallahassee is referring to as the best football team in Tallahassee, FSU's women's soccer, and we are bringing in WFSU's resident expert on FSU women's soccer. Hi, Kim Kelling.
Well, hello, everybody.
Kim
Hi,
is our director of content here. We are
fellow benchwarmers.
It's glad to have another benchwarmer. It was getting a little cold on this side.
I know, and it was also a little maudlin, so I'm here to bring some joy.
Yes, because somebody's got to be winning.
Who is the best football team in town?
Lady Noles.
Lady Noles. Go Noles. They did it again in ACC play. They beat Clemson 3-0.
somebody's going to beat Clemson.
Yeah,
this year.
it was a dominating win.
Well,
Clemson had one shot on goal, right?
I think
that was it.
It's sad because if you saw the game, Clemson actually played well, but we are so good that even if you're just playing well, we play like better.
Yeah.
And we rise to those challenges.
How can this team only be ranked 7th in the country? This is bizarre.
It's going to play out.
Yeah.
It's too early. I'm not worried about that. But, we just got our 4 top players back, and they didn't start the game, which I think that was really remarkable, that they came, he started with his team that had been playing through thick and thin, and then the 4 starters came in 20 minutes or so into the game, and it changed.
Yeah.
So that first goal that Mimi Van Zandt, she got, that was, I don't know if you saw it, but it was a rocket.
Yeah.
And Jordan Dudley set it up. It was just a beautiful play.
One of the things that I think women's soccer, the Lady Noles, do beautifully is they adapt, and they adapt on the fly. Like that team, they are so in sync with one another. Like their communication is wordless. Like they just look and just like it's like they know instinctively what to do on the field, that it is so amazing to watch them in play and watch how they operate with one another. Like totally night and day difference. Like they are stunning to watch.
And that's really the kind of the relationship that a quarterback and a receiver on a football team is supposed to have, but we're not seeing that by FSU's team.
Well, going back to last week when you played the clip of Brian Penske, the coach, talking about he is building a team that believes that they can win.
Yes.
And they fully embrace that. Even when they were down their top players, they still believed they could win. And that's a difference in the mindset of where we are with our comparing our teams.
Comparing the football team when the football team is down, it's you can kind of see it. Going back to FSU football SMU game real quick, that botched catch by Morlocks in the first drive of the second half, which turned into a touchdown because of the interception. I could tell from that point on there was no way we were going to win that game. But the ladies Noles soccer team the week before was down, and they came back to score a goal.
Back to tie that game up. So now they're 7. Their season so far they're 7-0-2. They have 2 ties.
Yeah, 2 ties.
So that's what's
undefeated still.
But they're undefeated, and they're undefeated over 15 games in the ACC. I mean, they just are a remarkable team, and they're so fun to watch. The other 2 goals again were just dynamite goals. We have Taylor Suarez, who's back. She got the second goal, and then we had Lara Dantas, who's Brazilian, who was also out, come back, and she rocketed that goal into the corner. The first goal that Mimi Van Zanten got, it hit the crossbars, and it ricocheted and then went in. I mean, it was sort of like, it looked like
what just happened.
Imagine being the goalie, trying to which way you look. Right?
And you just saw the goalie's face, just like there was no way that was going to save that goal. But, they're a remarkable team. They're so fun to watch. They're well coached. And
they're consistent. And I think, too, like to me, a key difference between them and others is that they play hungry. Like they don't come into it. They know that every single game is going to be a hard-fought game. There's no, we're just great, expected. Like they earn it, like week in and week out. Like there is,
and they're playing, sometimes more than one game a week.
Yeah.
So they have to. They are well conditioned, and just when it's amazing, and this is what FSU football needs. If one player's down, another steps up. There's always one stepping up. Taylor Huff carried that team while those 4 amazing starters were gone.
Yep.
And she never gave up. Her play was remarkable.
Yeah. It's the term next man up. And it doesn't have to be man, just next player up, next one up.
I mean, that's a kind of emotional maturity that I think, is something it can definitely be taught.
Sure.
But I think, the Lady Noles really kind of exemplify that. Like, they have that sort of emotional and mental maturity to be able to handle that and go week in and week out. And I think what you're not seeing, perhaps, is there needs to be a bit of a mindset shift within the football side. They could take a page or two from the Lady Noles. Maybe they need to go to one of their practices.
And I tell you, two other lady teams in this city who remain undefeated: FSU women's volleyball, undefeated; FAMU women's volleyball, undefeated.
I mean, the women are having great seasons right now.
Who's going to lose at home first by one of those teams? We have to flip a coin. You know what? I didn't think we could have been picking about this last week, even about who's going to lose first at home, either FSU or FAMU women's volleyball. But
it's hard to. I don't.
Yeah. Oh gosh. Does that mean that Kim has to leave?
I have to go because my expertise ends here.
You sure you don't want to stick around for our football picks?
I know it's too painful.
Okay.
Oh man,
Too painful.
Thanks for stopping by.
Thanks
Kim.
for having me.
Yeah.
Thanks for
Kim.
cheering on our FSU
and she leaves very little trash at the end of the bench.
I do.
So that's good.
I'm trashless.
You're trashless. Thank you, Kim.
Like our football team.
So it's time to fit. Oh, that hurt.
That
wow.
Low.
That was true, but really tough. Okay. Every week we are going to be picking football winners and losers. Last week, let me just recap what we had last week. Was the bench was myself, Jennifer, Eric Carter, who is not with us today. Eric was hoping to be able to join us by phone, and Adrian Andrews. Eric and Adrian were they had 4 wins against 0 losses on their picks. I was 3-1. Jennifer, you were 50-50 at 2-2, but you've got a chance this week to change that to make that frown become a smile. So
I was picking with my heart. I got to stop doing that.
Our first game that we're going to pick this week is, of course, FSU Clemson. Lynn, you weren't on the bench last week, but who you picking?
Clemson
without even there wasn't even.
Have you seen
pause.
Clemson?
Clemson.
They're good. They are way better than us in every single position. I don't see how FSU wins this game. And this is not to besmirch Florida State.
Absolutely.
I know that they're going to be practicing hard. This is a major game for them. But I just don't see how they secure any sort of upset.
Jennifer, what are your thoughts?
I am picking Clemson, and I don't want to talk about it.
Okay. That's it. You sound like Forrest Gump. Not going to talk about. Okay, it pains me to say this, but I'm going to go with. We're a 14.5-point underdog with 5 days before the game, so Clemson, and I just hope that it's not an embarrassment on the scoreboard, really, the way that SMU was. So Clemson. So I guess the pick is Clemson. Let's hope that FSU can even keep close to the point spread. FAMU travels to Alabama State. Lynn? First conference game?
Oh, FAMU by a hair.
FAMU by a hair.
FAMU by a hair.
Jennifer?
FAMU has a 3-game winning streak against Alabama State. And I feel like
somebody's done their homework.
Yeah.
Wow, I'm impressed.
I think they're going to take lessons that they learned playing Miami and Troy, and I think they're going to win.
Oh yeah, FAMU's going to walk away with this game. I think.
Yeah,
absolutely. A FAMU victory. Florida plays UCF.
If there's another team stinking up the field as much.
Everybody has been kind of pointing to this is that if a Florida loss may be that may be what triggers Napier's firing. So
I'm going with UCF.
UCF.
I think they smell blood in the water. They smell the vulnerability. UF is fighting for its life. UCF would be just a great feather in their cap. They're playing hungry. And UF is playing desperate.
Yeah. Jennifer?
UCF. I will never, ever pick Florida.
You'll never, yeah. You see, I think I know if Eric was here, I know who he would be picking too.
Yeah,
so,
for sure.
I'm going to go with UCF also. I think they actually, although they lost to Colorado, they outgained Colorado.
Mm-hmm.
So they were the game was somewhat competitive. So that I think they beat Florida, and. Miami is going to be playing Cal, who we just squeaked by.
Saw that.
So, what do you think?
I'm going with Miami. I think that this team looks good. They look much more disciplined than they've looked probably in the last decade. I got to go with Miami. I'm sorry, they look great.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
Jennifer?
Considering Cal got beat by us, Miami.
So that's what. That's the logic you're using.
Absolutely.
Anyone who we could beat.
Yeah, I don't.
That Miami. Okay, yeah. I think Miami.
Miami just looks good. I'm sorry.
Miami is going to be playing probably for the ACC championship. I'm thinking this year.
It looks good.
And our last state teams, USF has got to bye this week. So Jennifer, at least you won't have a loss with that game.
No, I won't.
Yeah.
I won't.
That was bad. I'm sorry.
No, hey, Eric and Adrian got kicked out this week, so I could gain some ground. I'm just saying.
True that. You're gonna be strong this week.
Yeah, I know. Yes. So, so that's our picks, and really that's the end of what has been a fun conversation today on episode 2 of the Tally Benchwarmers. If you want to get in on this, we do have a chance. All you got to do is, if you want to be on the bench, sponsor the show, just contact us at tallybenchwarmers@wfsu.org. Put me in, Coach, right?
Put me in.
Put me in.
And give me one of those
Okay.
beers.
Talk to you next week.